Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of Props of the Week. And in this edition of Props of the Week, I'll be doing UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Vallejos. And yeah, on the solo dolo tip for this week. But Prosmo should be back next week, barring any other career or personal responsibilities. But for this week, yeah, he's out of town. So yeah, doing the solo dolo, Emmett versus Till. I have five. I guess one I had six, but either way, I have five. Either way, it'd be like 3 or 4 usually. Got five, so at least like one more prop for this week. And yeah, I think there's some pretty good props. You know, let's hope to hit some of them this week and start to get on the roll. Like it's about time we get on the roll with these props of the week. And yeah, it's been enough months. We're in March, so yeah, let's get into the props. So yeah. All right, we get into the props. So the first prop of this week is starting off with the main event. Got Vallejos by KO at -110. Emmett to me has never been like some super impressive striker. But then he come out and knock out on Vallejos. But yeah, Emmett has never really been super impressive to me. I've always been underwhelmed by him. But he's definitely overachieved. But at this point, he's like 41, 42 years old in his career. He has never been knocked out, so that's why the prop is at such a good value. But it's 5 rounds. He's going to a guy who's young, hungry. He's going to bring it to him, and he's going to mix it up. The young guy, he's going to go to the body, go to the head. And 5 rounds is a long time to get it done. And Emmett might not have been getting knocked out. I think he got like TKO once in his UFC career, and that was like with a legal knee in there. But again, he's up there in age. Going there for a young stud like this. Don't think Vallejos can go out there and wrestle him. Don't think Vallejos can go out there and submit him. Yeah, I think Vallejos going to be able to go for the finish. Vallejos is the guy that's going to hunt the finish and go for the finish, and he's most likely going to be by KO. Could see a decision come out of this, but Vallejos is like a guy that I think is going to risk it a little bit, which might leave him susceptible, but I feel like in the trade-off, even though Emmett does pack the more power, I think Vallejos is going to prevail. Also, Vallejos won't be as predictable. And yeah, I'm yapping a lot about this, but 5 rounds, very predictable striker Emmett, who's 42 years old, versus a young, hungry killer like Vallejos, who has been there with some real good guys already and showed his tenacity, showed his ability to finish fights. Yeah, I got to go with the much younger guy here, who's clearly on the up track right now. And with 5 rounds, I definitely think he can get it done in the distance. So at near plus money at -110, I think that's a good prop. Vallejos by KO. Next one, got Mesquita by sub at +100. Not really a prop I really believe in. I don't know if I really care too much about, but a plus money prop. You got a BJJ legend and Bia Mesquita going in with a journeywoman nobody fighter. She could definitely lose, but +100. You know, just trying to get some plus money on with a fight that doesn't have too much value. Sub, I think is pretty solid. It's like really be sub or decision, but I would prefer just to have the plus money instead of going for like a sub in decision at like -200. You know, just sprinkle a little something on Mesquita sub at +100. Again, it's not super locked in prop or anything that means, but I do think it's a pretty likely outcome and a decent enough value. Decent enough. I'll give it that. Decent enough. Maybe even a parlay piece more so than an individual prop. Like this, instead of just put in sub at +100, maybe combine this with like a more confident pick. Maybe this Vallejos money line or something like that. Then you get a better value. Maybe you get it at like +150, +200 or something. Maybe you can get it up to that much. Or find some other people that you feel confident about on this card. And maybe make a 3-leg or 4-legger, something more confident. But or at least not even say more confident. I feel like Mesquita sub is not like a max confident prop. It's not. It's like a prop that, you know, has good chance of hitting, but you're not gonna put your max value money on this. You're probably gonna put like, you know, based on your unit, depending on how you're feeling this year, like you're really high on your unit, giving like 10 units. If you're real high, then maybe like a unit, 2 units. You're kind of like in the reserve part, like where I'm at right now, currently to start of the year. I'm just like taking it slow, very slow. Then this would be like a half unit or quarter unit play. It would definitely not be a full unit play, but like a half unit or quarter unit. And I would make some other more safe options on this just so I can maximize the value. So I'm not just putting a unit on Mesquita sub. I wouldn't do that by sub. It's a parlay piece prop in my opinion, and like maybe a little average to low, not even average, like a lower confident prop, but a likely outcome. The next one, Curtis by decision at +400. I'm just not really sold on Mickey or by, and I'll never will. I think he can win. I think even if he wins this fight, even go out and look dominant, I'm never going to be sold on Mickey or by. I know for sure he's not going to be no champion or no top 5 fighter. I know for sure that. I actually real either night. Somebody going to go on Kashi or Kaushi or whatever these little little betting sites are, and I bet that Mickey or would never be top 5 in any weight class in UFC for as long as he lives. and or even probably top 7. I bet he'll never be top 7. I could go to sleep real easy at night, know my money is good. That's what I'm saying. I'm not too high on Mick Orbai. Very predictable, very straightforward, and all in all, don't really have high level skills. He can wrestle a little bit, submit a little bit, but when you look at elite guys in the weight class, like unless they kind of downtrending, he could probably beat them when they're downtrending. Is what happens a lot of times. You get these journeyman level fighters, will beat former champions, former title challengers, when they start to downtrend. But when they're at their best, like they just get walked over. That's why I see Mick Orbai. And pretty moderate wrestling. Just swings for the fence striking. Curtis is a much sharper striker technically. But the right guy's favored in Mick Orbai based on where they're at in their careers. But I think this is a fight where Chris Curtis can pull off an upset as a veteran. Stuff the takedowns and just work behind his jab, use his defense that he has had in his career, and just be the cleaner striker and beat Mick Orbai, maybe even drop him. But Orbai's tough, so I want to see Chris Curtis stopping him, especially when guys like 38 years old and stuff. The finishes don't really come as often, so if Orbai loses, it's most likely going to be by decision. If he does lose, I don't see Chris Curtis stopping him. And I just see more like Chris Curtis being stuff to takedowns and just have the cleaner striking, land the better shots, have the better defense, and beat Mick Orbai. So at plus 400, again, it's a lower confident pick, but you got plus 400 value just off this one prop alone. So you could do this as a standalone prop, or again, you could go and combine it with maybe a money line you feel more confident, or a prop you feel more confident, and maybe get that to plus 600, plus 700, maybe even double up to not double up, gotta be more than double, but try to chase that plus 1,000. But I wouldn't say that. I'd probably say maybe push it up to maybe like plus 700, plus 750. I wouldn't try to go too crazy with it. Unless you kind of carry it on to next week, where I feel like there are a lot of great, easy picks next week. But that's my thoughts on that one. And next one, Amanda Lemos by KO sub at plus 450. I think that's a crazy value. But I guess you could say Lemos is up there in age. So this low-key probably going to end up being a decision. But you are getting a great value here. And it's not like Jillian Robertson has shown extreme toughness. I think when Jillian Robertson typically loses, she gets finished. I can't really think of to my mind where Jillian Robertson lost by like a decision, or at least recent memory of her losing by decision. It's like usually Gary getting stopped. Usually, I think she did have one recent decision loss, but that was like Morgan grappled up, and that was like by what's her name? I forget. Little baby shark or whatever her name is. Tati. I forget her name, but either way. But Lemos is a finisher. Robertson is a terrible nail. When the fight's not going her way, she typically wilts pretty bad. And Lemos packs a lot of power, and she's definitely a finisher. I think even at this stage of her career. And I can see Lemos addressing the grappling up and being hurt on the feet, or even having success in her own grappling in this fight. But I think it definitely starts with the striking on the feet. And it's not like Lemos is just this chick that has a white belt and BJ. Like Lemos can submit people at a pretty high level. She can knock people out at the highest level. And she has fought at a higher level. And I'm again, this is not a case where I'm not really sold on the person who's the favorite in this fight. I'm not sold on Robertson, and I go to sleep confident on that she's never going to really ascend to the highest levels of the sport. Like being in the UFC, yeah, but like top 5, potentially fighting for a belt or stuff like that, number 1 contender fight, no, can't see it for her. So I just think Lemos can address the grappling, touch her up, get out there, potentially KO sub, club and sub potentially plus 450. I think it's a great value, but again, another lower comp. Like Vallejos KO, like an average confident. Mesquita sub low, Curtis decision low, Lemos KO sub low, but again, maybe potential parlay pieces combining with some more confidence. But the value on the Lemos and the Curtis one are plus 450, plus 4. So those standalone, you can get some good value off those alone, and not really need to try to add extra difficulty to it. But if you're feeling lucky, you're feeling like your 3-pointers going in, and you want to add more and like go for the lotto pick, yeah, you can add some more stuff and maybe combine those 2 dog picks. You really feeling the lotto, you feeling the move for the lotto, and you feel like the 3-pointer's wet right now, go for it. But me personally, I would say like just combine it with maybe 1 or 2 more confident picks. The maximized value, or 1 really. If they're plus 400, that's enough in my opinion. Don't get too crazy. But yeah. And then finally got Tavares by decision at plus 165. That's probably like an average confident. Could it really be average confident if I'm only low confident Brad Tavares? Or how's a prop on Brad Tavares average? Low. It's a better low confident, but it wouldn't quite be an average confident probably. Tavares, both these guys are up there in age. Eric Anders and Tavares, and fights typically between older fighters like pushing 40 or in that later stage of their 30s, entering their 40s. those fights typically go the distance. Tavares typically wins by decision. And again, Eric Anderson's like main path has been like kind of knocking guys out. And I think at this point, Tavares still should be much more technical. His chin should be the hold up. It's not like Eric Anderson has ever barely been this consistent one punch knockout guy. He has had little moments, but when we look at his career, he probably had like 20 fights in the UFC, probably like 3 really like one punch knockouts or something like. And that was a lot of those were early on in his career, and maybe like one probably 4 years ago. So Eric Anderson really ain't knocking nobody out. Tavares is a much more well-rounded fighter, much sharper, much cleaner technical striker, and has way more tools. And I can see him breaking down. Eric Anderson, of course, fighting. Eric Anderson is just struggling to land these power shots and just getting chewed up the whole fight. But the fight going the distance nonetheless. And Tavares by decision at plus 165, I think that's a great value. And again, as I said, these guys in their later 30s, these veteran type fighters, it really just turns into a point fight. They could try to go for the kill and stuff, then it's still been a point fight. It's like a lot of clinching, a lot of breathing, a lot of just maintaining the distance and just who can just better, it's about who has the better, at this point it comes down like who has more left in the tank or who has left that they, hasn't lost as much in their, of their who they used to be. And then who has the higher IQ and can make the better adjustments or just make this who's the smarter fighter at this point. Instead of like when they're younger, it's like the guy that has more tenacity and stuff. Like you get older, it's like, how you I'm yapping too much, but just pretty much making better decisions, being more technical. So that favors the older people. Unless they just maybe more technical and they just got so much malice on them, like dang, you had 2 bad knees, your chin turned to nutty buddy, whatever, or silly putty. Yeah, you might be all this stuff, but somebody just touch your chin and you go to nirvana. But yeah. I yapped a whole lot. But thanks for whoever made it this far in the video. Run through it again. You already heard enough yap. You get my point for all these props. So I'm going to list them out again and call it a video. So first one is Vallejos KO at minus 110. Second one is Bia Mesquita by sub at plus 100. Next one is Chris Curtis decision at plus 400. Next one is Amanda Lemos KO or submission at plus 450. And lastly, Tavares decision at plus 165. So the final prop and the starter props are the ones that I feel are the most likely props to hit. They have the least value. Well, no, they don't. Tavares doesn't have the least value, but it's one of the least valued one of the 5. But it's not the least value. It's like number 3 or 4. But anyway, Tavares decision plus 165. But those are the ones I am most confident. Vallejos KO at minus 110 and Tavares decision at plus 165. So you stay long enough, you get a little bit more intel. So Vallejos KO minus 110 and Tavares decision plus 160. Yeah, plus 165. What's going on with my brain? Did I get a concussion making this video? But yeah, Vallejos KO minus 110 and Tavares decision plus 165 are my most confident of these. Yeah, my most confident of these 5 props in this video. But yeah, thanks for watching. This has been another edition of Props of the Week. In this edition, UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Vallejos. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.